Hello everyone, welcome to Sarat Chandra IAS Academy. This is part 2 of the lecture. In the part 1, we studied about a lot of economic concepts. So let's revise them all. We talked about the debate of the growth versus inequality. Alright, the economic growth versus the economic inequality. We talked about the redistribution of wealth, monopoly, market economy, and so on. We learnt about the Gini coefficient. Alright, furthermore, we saw that there is more inequality now than there was in the British Raj or during the British Raj. But also, India has displayed a continuous growth with the GDP. All right. Then we saw that how growth rate correlates to inequality in various different scenarios of high GDP as well as low GDP. All right. We also saw what are the pros and cons of the inequality regarding to growth. What is the difference between the real wages as well as the money wages, and how monopoly can be harmful to poor people. All right, and how can it affect their real wages? Then we saw the biggest companies in India and them having a monopoly in multiple productions. All right, we saw the markup and production costs, etc. Then we studied the money wage versus the real wage debate, and finally we came to the greedflation. Now we'll be understanding this graph finally, but first of all, let's understand its components individually. Okay, so let's talk about the demand curve first. So what we see, the curve is drawn between price versus the quantity demanded in the market. And what do we see? This is a downgoing curve. But here downgoing curve does not mean there is a reduction. So please do not confuse it with reduction. It is basically saying that when the price goes down, when the price goes down, then the quantity demanded increases. So basically the demand is increasing. Okay, initially it may look like the demand is decreasing. Okay, but demand is actually increasing. The quality demanded is increasing relative to the price. So what we are saying that when the price goes up, then demand goes down. Okay, and what we are saying that when price goes down, the demand goes up. So they have a reciprocal relationship. All right. Now what do we say? The other thing that we must focus on is the market efficiency. All right. Let's say that there are 100 people who want to purchase something, and all 100 of them are getting that thing, and also there are only 100 things in the market. Okay, so that will be perfect equilibrium. So when will that happen? When demand will meet the supply. When demand will meet the supply. So let's learn about the supply first. Okay, let's come here to the supply graph. So this is the supply curve. So what does the supply curve say? That when the prices increase, the supply also increases. Or in order to increase the supply, the price of production and the markup cost would also be increased. Okay, so what is the reason? First reason is the profit motive. Okay, profit should be increased when the supply is increased because somebody is investing a lot in creating that supply in the first place. Okay, producers are willing to supply more of it to maximize their profits. Second thing is higher cost of production. Okay, for supplying something more, new factories will have to be installed, new machineries will have to be installed. There will be more input cost, more wages will have to be paid to workers. Then there is opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is something that I am using one opportunity A and losing on the second opportunity B. So what I'm losing in the second opportunity, that is known as the opportunity cost, and I will fulfill and recover it with the investing in A. So that will increase my markup. So I already told you about the markup. Basically, it's the increase priced on the cost price. So that is the selling price. That makes the final selling price. Okay, so all these factors say that if all remains okay, the prices will increase when the supply increases. Okay, so now we can plot these both graph together. Okay, so let's do that. So we can plot it like this. Just a second. Okay, so we can plot it like this. The supply graph. Okay, so what is this point? This is the point of the equilibrium. This is the point of the market equilibrium. What does market equilibrium say? That at a price P2, let's say, okay, the demand will meet the supply and there will be a certain price for this. If things remain on this point, then supply will be equal to demand. Let's say producers will be producing 100 things and there will only be a demand of 100 things in the market. Okay. And no 101 thing will be produced and no 99 thing will be demanded. Okay. Even the last single unit of anything produced will be sold and the price will remain constant. Okay, but does this happen in real life? This does not happen in real life. So what is created? There is always some lacking in the demand either. Okay, there is either supply more than demand or demand less than the supply. So these are the two situations which are created. So what happens is a deadweight loss is created. Okay, so let's see what is that. Okay, so let's come here to the deadweight loss. Okay, let me change the pen color again. Okay, so deadweight loss can be created by multiple factors. There can be subsidies, there can be monopoly, there can be anything that can create a deadweight loss. So deadweight loss is a result of market inefficiency. Market inefficiency. So market inefficiency, what happens? There are two cases I told you. Either the supply exceeds the demand or the demand exceeds the supply. All right. So let's study one case where a deadweight loss is created from a price ceiling. What is a price ceiling? That will not let the price increase from a certain point. Let's say the market equilibrium is reached at 100 rupees, but the price ceiling is set to be 70 rupees. So what happens? Okay, so let's talk about the supply first. So if let's say 100 rupees is this, okay, this is the market equilibrium. So this is 100 rupees. Okay, this is our P1. Now there is a ceiling set on the P2, that price ceiling. So price will not increase from this, let's say 70 rupees. So what happens if the MRP is set to 70 rupees, the supply will fall this point. Okay, because this point correlates to supply in the P2 graph. P2 is 70 rupees here. Okay, in the supply graph, this is the supply graph. Okay, what do we see? That B point is the point which the manufacturer can provide. This is the quantity. Okay, this is the quantity that can be supplied by the manufacturer if the price ceiling is set to 70 rupees. Okay, however, on the same price, what do we see on the demand graph? This is the demand graph. So what do we see? On 70 rupees, the demand of the product reaches here at Q3 at the quantity 3. So this is the quantity that is demanded and this is the quantity that is supplied in the market. Okay, now what remains between this? That means demand is exceeding the supply. So there is a shortage. What is this shortage? Supply side shortage. Supply side shortage. Okay, so now let's see further. One more thing, let us see that we'll only studying to the equilibrium because after equilibrium is established, the supply side or the manufacturer side try to not go in the loss. Okay, so where is the loss happening? Let's talk about this point. Okay, let's say this is L point. So supply is a lot. Okay, and the corresponding price is also a lot. Corresponding price is also a lot. Let's say it is 150 rupees. Okay, so what is happening? There is a lot of supply and the prices also increase. So the quantity demanded of this thing in the market decreases so much that the manufacturer is not able to sell. That's why this, let's say this graph is still here. Okay, because the D point is here, corresponding demand related to this supply. Okay, but we are not studying this graph in this direction further because what will happen eventually if the supply exceeds a lot as well as the price increase of something, the demand basically reduces to zero and the exchanges stop because nobody is purchasing it. Okay, it is just there in the market, but nobody is purchasing it. So eventually what will happen? The manufacturer will stop the supply, stop making these things and let these things be cleared from the market and launch something new or something else happen. Okay, so we are only studying till the equilibrium. Okay, let's now come back to this point B. Okay, this was the point of our supply where supply was stopped because of the price ceiling. Okay, now what we see, there is a point C also. What is the point C? Let's plot it. This is, let's say, price P3. Okay, P3 is, let's say, 120 rupees. Okay, so this is the demand when the quality is equal to the supply, when the quantity, sorry, of the supply is equal to the demand. So these are the people who are willing to pay 120 rupees also for this product, who are willing to pay 120 rupees also for this product. Okay, but equilibrium would be established if the price was 100 rupees. So what happens to these people? What happens to these people? Okay, they would be happy to pay 110 rupees also, 105 rupees also, 102 rupees also, until 100 rupees also. Okay, they would be happy to pay. But the manufacturer is not being able to sell to these people. Why? Because the supply has gone down because of this price ceiling. So what happens? These people are lost from the market. That means they are willing to pay more than what the price is, but the supply is not there. Okay, so these are lost from the market. So this benefit is lost to the consumer. Why? Because this is consumer surplus. This is consumer surplus. So what is consumer surplus? That he was willing to pay 110 rupees for something that is actually costing 70 rupees only. But when he goes in the market to find it, he does not find. Okay, why? Because of the price ceiling, the supply has gone down itself. The supply has gone down itself. Okay, so this is the issue of the consumer surplus, loss of consumer surplus. So this is known as the deadweight loss. Deadweight loss, because people are ready to purchase, but they are not getting anything in the market because the supply has been reduced because of a price ceiling. Okay, so this is one way because of which this deadweight loss happen. One more thing, please remember that it is the duty of the manufacturer or the producer to set the highest price possible that can be sold. Okay, he's not stupid, right? That he will be selling something for 80 rupees when he can sell it for 100 rupees because he will make his profit the maximum. Okay, so let's say to this supply P2. Okay, for this supply P2 is the price, 70 rupees is the price that the manufacturer is able to accept, the least price. Okay, he will not be supplying this good also if the price becomes 60. If the price becomes 60 rupees, then his supply will fall to here, this point. Okay, the graph will completely shift to this point. Okay, but what is happening? He's still selling it at 100 rupees because that is what he would be doing if there was no price ceiling. Okay, let's say there is no price ceiling. So what is happening? He will still be selling it at the equilibrium. Okay, so this equilibrium versus this price. Okay, this whole thing. This, let's say he is in equilibrium. Let's come to here, this point. This area under this graph. This will be the producer surplus. This will be the producer surplus. Okay, at this supply, let's say here. Okay, the price that he is willing to accept is 20 rupees. But he is getting 100 rupees because of the equilibrium. Okay, because people are okay paying this, and everything is getting sold at the equilibrium. So what he is getting 80 rupees extra. So this 80 rupees is producer surplus. Okay, so now let's come back to this graph. Okay, so let's clear this. Now understand this all over again. Very simple now. So this we see there is the supply curve. Okay, this we saw is the demand curve. Demand is increasing as well as the supply is increasing, and prices are also increasing in this manner. This is y-axis, this is our x-axis. Okay, this is the free market equilibrium. The consumer surplus we already saw. Okay, what consumers are willing to pay versus what they actually have to pay. Consumer surplus is equal to what consumers are willing to pay versus or minus what they actually have to pay. Okay, and this is the producer surplus. The lower graph you can see here. Okay, let's say that this is the price ceiling. It is 70 rupees. Okay, and for this supply, let's say the price ceiling is 70 rupees. For this supply, okay, producer is ready to accept 30 rupees also, but he's getting 70, so his surplus will be 40 rupees. So this is known as the producer surplus. But if this supply is lost, as I told you already, if this supply is lost, then he will be losing this producer surplus as well as consumer surplus here. So this will become the deadweight loss. Okay, and now simply from an example, how can we understand this? Okay, not going into the graph, let's just simply understand this. So what are the example for us? Let's say there is one market. Okay, in that market, There is a, let's say good, something, there is a pen, okay. So a pen is being produced for 5 rupees. Now what happens that the prices increase to 7 and there is, let's say, 100 people purchasing it. Okay, so the overall benefit for the producer is 500 rupees. Okay, now what happens? Let's say the prices increase to 6 rupees. Now there are lesser people purchasing it. Okay, there are, let's say, 80 people purchasing it. So it becomes like 80 people purchasing it. And total thing is 4800 rupees. But then what happens if the prices become like 9 rupees? Okay, and there are only 60 people purchasing it. Even if 40% people go out of the market, the lower 40% of the people go out of the market, still the overall benefit increases. Okay, so this can happen when price can increase like this when there is a monopoly. Okay, so in monopoly, what happened? This producer recognized that these 40% people, okay, they are poor people, but he recognized that 60% of my purchasing population is actually rich people, wealthy people, and they will still purchase the pen even if it is costing 9 rupees to them. Okay, so he increased his overall profit. These 40 people percent are now left with no option. So this is the welfare loss or deadweight loss. Okay, so there are multiple factors which can affect deadweight loss. Okay, let me just tell you here, and then we'll understand something else from here. Okay, so one thing is monopoly. So deadweight loss, when we talk about the deadweight loss, so monopoly increases the deadweight loss we saw because of random prices and loss of demand. Okay, second thing is subsidy, because this question can be asked. Okay, so please remember this subsidy. So what happens when subsidy is there? The prices will reduce. Okay, so what happens when subsidy is there? Let's say the pen is now coming for 2 rupees only. Okay, so many people will purchase the pen actually, and they will have no use for the pens. Even they will purchase the pen because usually it comes for 5 rupees. Okay, so all of the people who are falling in this bracket, regardless of their actual benefit, they will still purchase the pen. So that will also create a dead waste loss for the society because they will have unnecessary goods now. Okay, so market will be inefficient because the demand will reduce, and market will be inefficient. Okay, now let's talk about the third thing, that is tax. So if the tax increases, the overall price will increase. And that will also create inefficiency. So this type of tax is often levied as at cigarettes, let's say liquor. Okay, so liquor tax, let's say when there is overall price of the liquor is increasing, that means people will purchase it lesser. People will purchase it lesser. It is also known as sin tax. So people purchase it lesser. So this also creates some sort of inefficiency in the market where demand reduces. Okay, so supply also reduces, let's say, and the prices are imbalanced. So in a monopoly, what would happen? As I told you already. Okay, the demand graph is like this, supply graph is like this. Supply is restricted to here, so demand is also here because the quantity present is the same, and the prices is like this. Okay, so quantity is less, supply is less, demand is also lesser people demanding the product actually, but they are paying the high prices. The prices are high. So do we want this? We don't want this. We want the demand to come here. Okay, and quantity to be produced. Okay, for the same supply or equilibrium to be reached at least. All right, no shortage to be there. So because of the monopoly, they are having to pay the high price and the demand is also lesser. Okay, so they consume less goods. There is less good consumption in the market as well as the prices of the thing become very high. One more thing, let us see. Let's say whenever there is a setup of factory, okay, let's say this is a rich person. He is actually rich, and he tells the workers, okay, let's set up a factory. So what does he do? He sets up a factory. He makes some investments. He pays the wages to the workers. Okay, these workers now have some money. They go to produce the same goods eventually, which are produced by the factory. Okay, the prices of which are determined by this person only. Okay, so he can determine both their money wages as well as their real wages. Okay, so this is why, because of the monopoly of any investor or a single person, because if there's market monopoly, he will be able to decide the money wages of the people as well as the real wages of people. And when there is monopoly, there is less demand from these people. Okay, because these are the poor people, they cannot pay higher prices, so they remain out of the market. Okay, so this is known as multiplier effect. So multiplier effect is less when the poor people are out of the market. Okay, and only rich people can consume. What happens when rich people can consume? Okay, let's say there is two choices now. Monopoly is not there. So poor people, if they are, let's say this is set of poor people A, this is set of poor people B. Okay, and we are assuming that country is unequal. Country is unequal. Gini coefficient is like this. Okay, so what do we see that right now, if let's say Big Bazaar is selling something at 70 rupees, and this other factory is selling, let's say anything else, it's selling at 40 rupees. DMart is selling at 40 rupees. So they will go to this person. Okay, will be competitiveness in the market and some sort of equilibrium demand will be established. Okay, so this will be better for the people overall. Now let's see, we have a debate that rich people can consume more. Okay, rich people are still consuming. But thing is that the things we need, let's say rich people have a wealth of 100 rupees. Okay, they save 90 rupees or invest 90 rupees in new things and only 10 rupees they are using, okay, for the consumption of goods. Now, if we say these 10 rupees, okay, this makes the 90%, these 10 rupees, sorry, this make the 90% of the income of these people. Okay, so this consumption proportion, the proportion of income consumption, this is far more among the poor people than the rich people. They are anyway investing 90 rupees somewhere else, okay, in their assets on only consuming 10 rupees. These are consuming the same 10 rupees, but that makes 90% of their overall wealth. Okay, so multiplier effect is increased when the poor people consume more goods. Multiplier effect increased when poor people consume more goods, not when rich people consume or demand, let's say, more consumption, display more consumption. Okay, so if only poor people get to consume, this will reduce the growth of the economy. This will reduce the growth of the economy. Okay, and when the poor people consume a lot, their income also rises, the real income also rises, and that increases the growth. Okay, so who suggested a solution? Our dear Rahul Gandhi suggested a solution that we can do the redistribution of wealth. How? By increasing the tax. Okay, by increasing a wealth tax. Okay, so let's say our investor number one or entrepreneur number one. So what was his response? He, let's say, got afraid. Okay, he said, okay, there is a wealth tax. So what I will do is not to amass the wealth. I will say I will not create wealth. Okay, not save much money. So what I will do, I will scale down. I am happy with what I have. Okay, so I'll scale down both production as well as the investments. I will not create more jobs because what is the benefit? When I acquire more wealth, then they increase the tax. So they take my money back. Okay, so what is the sense? So this is producer number one. Okay, what is the producer number two doing? He understands that wealth is different from profit. Okay, he's saying that let me create more wealth. No issues. You tax more wealth. I have no issues. I will pass down the cost to the consumers because what I'm creating will always be in demand. It has a future demand. Okay, I'll create. So let's talk about this person, let's say. Okay, he's in our investor number two. So he's saying that I am creating airports, I'm building airports, and there will always be a demand. People will always be flying. Okay, since the invention of the aeroplane, people have been flying. They will always be flying from, let's say, to go from here to there. And what they will be giving this person? Money. Okay, money will have two things, three things. One is the profit, one is the wealth accumulation, and third is the investments. So he will say, I will create less wealth for myself, increase my profits for the company, as well as, let's say, increase my wealth with the relation to tax. and pass down this cost to the consumers in form of profit and keep increasing my investments. Okay, so ultimately these will be the people who will suffer because now the train or sorry airplane ticket will cost 8,000 rupees instead of 7,000 rupees. Okay, so who is in the loss here? These people are in the loss. Okay, so a price ceiling will be set by government. A price ceiling will be set by government. They will say, okay, wait, you cannot do this. Okay, you cannot just increase the ticket prices. So maximum ticket price should be 7,500 rupees. So what he will do? He will curtail the supply as we saw. Okay, price ceiling, there will be a dead weight loss to the society. Just as we saw, this is the price ceiling. Okay, and this is the monopoly. So these are the factors which are affecting the growth of the economy. And this is the debate that we are having. Okay, so what is the, let's say, answer to this? That balance is the key. Because if there is high wealth tax, what will happen? Then investments can go down. Investments can go down. Job creation can go down. People can be in deadweight loss or passed down expenditures. Okay, if we set a price ceiling, then there will be inefficiency in the market. Equilibrium will not be reached. Prices will increase. Prices will increase even if there is a price ceiling. If there is a price ceiling, then supply will be curtailed. Okay, so market will never reach the efficient phase. And if there is a curtailed monopoly, then what will happen? That when there is a curtailed monopoly, it will be a little good. There will be more opportunities for people or an options for people. Okay, and the competitiveness will be more. The competitiveness will be more. So there has to be a balance between creating a high wealth tax versus curtailing the monopoly. So how to curtail the monopoly without reducing the overall wealth of the people? Okay, so that is the way forward. That is the challenge actually. What is the challenge here? Let's say if somebody is there who already has thousands of crores of rupees, okay, thousands of crores of rupees, so they are having more incentives to build something new because of their already presented wealth. Okay, if somebody is not having this sort of money already, they are only having relative 100 rupees, so they cannot come into market. They cannot start up something and come into market. So all of this can lead us to what sort of economy or economic systems where we are favoring the startups. New startups which are more competitive, which serve more equilibrium, okay, and which are attractive to the customers. So this can be a way forward for this. Okay, supporting the startups which are more attractive to consumers and offer multiple options. Okay, so this was the end of this lecture. Thank you very much. I hope you understood it all. If you have any feedback, you can give it to me. This is Yatharth here signing off. Have a great day. See you again.